Thank you, Mr. McGraw, for that. Moving along, we're going to talk about probably one of the most important parts of the process is you got to have money to buy a house, right? Unless you're paying cash. So the next speaker is going to talk about what that looks like from pre-approval all the way to the whole process of the lending side. And his name is Mr. Mark Charles with Supreme Lending. So let's go ahead and give him some encouragement, and he's going to share how to get the money, y'all. That's what we want to know. So come on up, Mark.
Good with the microphone, but I feel like I'm in church. Everybody's sitting in the back. So I gave you some handouts, and you all have one of these. You see that? So on there's a little QR code. If you decide that you want to do an application to find out what you can get pre-approved for, just use your phone to scan the QR code. It'll take you right to my link. We're going to talk about doing an application. Who's paying cash for a house? Let me back up. Who's ready to say goodbye to their landlord? Unless you're an investor and you own homes and you have a bunch of tenants, right? Who's ready to buy a house in the next 6 months, 12 months? Who has no idea where to start? Yeah. Hey, who knows what interest rates are today? Sarah does. How important is interest rate when you're buying a home? So let me ask you a question. How important is gasoline when you need gas? The price of gas. So I have this thing where I'm driving down the road and my truck's full of fuel. And I see gas that I'm going to make this up to $3.25 a gallon. I'm like, that's damn high. Pardon me, language, sorry. $3.25 is high, but I don't need any gas, right? So I'm driving along. I drove down from Dallas this morning. So before I leave here, I'm going to fill up the fuel. Well, now I'm going to go get some gasoline later on today, and it's going to be $3.40 a gallon. Sounds like a pretty good deal. $3.25 was too high, but $3.40 sounds like a heck of a deal because I need gasoline, right? So like the number one call that I get, and I've been doing loans for like 30 years, so I've seen it all, I think, is I get the call, what's your rate? And my response to people is, what's your rate? What's your rate? And what I mean by that is a couple of things. It sparks this conversation about the fact that interest rates are irrelevant when you're buying a home today. Just like the price of gasoline is what it is, interest rates are what they are. And I can guarantee if I did a home loan for everybody in here, you all would have a different interest rate, a different loan program, a different down payment, because you guys have different credit scores, you have different goals, wants, and dreams, you have different ideas, you have different strategies for buying a house. Who's owned a home before? Ever? So okay, have you guys owned a home in the last 3 years? Okay, so you know that you're a first-time home buyer again. If you haven't owned a home in the first 3 years, you're going to qualify as a first-time home buyer, which means you can take advantage of another flyer on here called T-Shack, which is down payment assistance. How much money do you have to buy a home? Any idea? So let's just use FHA as an example. Sarah?
It depends on if you have down payment for you. So if it's me, I can get you into about $2,500 everything on it.
What's the down payment?
That depends. So if they get a $620 and they get a down payment assistance, they won't have that. And I'm the facility of the closing costs, they won't have that either. So
She is such a rock star. Well, let's just talk about one of the money loan programs, FHA, which is Federal Housing Administration. The minimum down payment is 3.5%. Depending on your income and your credit, you may qualify for down payment assistance, where you can get money gifted to you or granted to you. Some of it's repayable, some of it's not, to cover your down payment and some of your closing costs. But you're also going to need some money for prepaid items, reserves, closing costs, things like that. The important thing is that you get in front of a lender to understand those things. Sarah wants you to call her after you've gotten your pre-approval in place. What's the value of being pre-approved to buy a home? Anybody? What's that? Yeah, so one important thing I think is to understand affordability. Because I know I've had a lot of folks where they've gone up on the top of the mountain looking at the big houses, and it's like, that's $1 million home, and that's great, but do you want the $11,000 house payment that goes with it? So why are we looking at these houses? We don't go out and test drive Rolls Royces, we go out and test drive Chevys. Or in my situation, a Ram truck, right? But it's important to get pre-approved so you understand what your options are. Because you're gonna, oh, I'm sorry, you're filming this.
No, you're
gonna
good.
start looking at houses that might not fit your ability. They'll certainly fit your desire, right? Because we all want that long driveway and a big pool in the back and a runway for the airplanes in the backyard too, right? But it might not be where we're going. So I get calls from folks when they want to buy their dream home and they've never owned a home. And from my perspective, it's like, well, isn't owning a home the dream? Isn't that where we start? Let's get on the correct side of appreciation, right? Okay, so I'm gonna think underwriting and getting a mortgage. I'm gonna boil it down for you guys because this is really important. Whether you choose to come with me to get your home loan put together or whomever, I'm gonna just talk about not supreme lending but getting a mortgage today. So if I was to print out all these guidelines, all these rules about getting a mortgage today, it would be a big old stack. It's like almost like the IRS code, right? All these different rules that we have to follow. But we can boil it down to the 3 C's of lending: credit, collateral, and capacity. So credit is our credit score. So if you guys are both on the same loan, I'm gonna take the middle credit score, whoever's lower, and that'll determine eligibility from a credit score perspective on what you can do. The second C is collateral, or skin in the game, down payment. We already talked about down payment assistance programs being available out there. Again, if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't have to have 20% down to buy a house. You have to have a little bit of money, but you don't have to have a lot. The key is to find out how much money you're gonna need based on your goal for purchase price, right? So we have collateral, credit, collateral, and then capacity. So capacity is the 3rd C, and that's also known as debt to income ratio. You guys have probably heard DTI, or debt to income ratio. There's a lot of acronyms that we use in our business, so whatever lender you're talking to, make sure they slow down and they spell it out for you guys. But your debt to income ratio is where we're gonna look at your proposed house payment, which is PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. We're going to compare that against your gross income, how much you typically earn on your job, either self-employed or W-2, over a long running period. If you're anybody self-employed in here? Okay, so you have to have a 2-year history of being self-employed, right? Because we have to look at tax returns. So we're going to take your gross income, and then we're going to compare that gross income against the proposed house payment and the other payments that appear on your credit report. So it's important that while you're going through the process of getting pre-approved to buy a home, nobody other than me touches your credit, right? You got to live in a bubble. No job changes, no new debts. When I send you a pre-approval letter, don't be getting all excited about buying a new car, because that's going to affect what? And your ability to make that dream of home ownership come true. So you've got, Sarah and I have this company, Sarah and I, we talk about it every day. Seems like for years, and it's always the same conversation. She's like, "Oh, I hope they don't show up in a new car," because we know what typically goes with a new car, right? Car payment. And what are car payments these days? I have seen more $1,000 car payments in the last 12 months. I didn't realize that it's been a long time since I bought a car, but I didn't realize that people are willing to get into that. That's about half of a house payment, maybe a third of a house payment. Okay, so remember credit, collateral, capacity. When you are finding a lender to work with, just find someone that's going to work on your dream, not theirs. Stay focused on make sure that anybody on your team is going to stay focused on your dream. You don't want people telling you what you want to hear. You want people telling you the truth. And I get in trouble with that sometimes. Because I tell people, I had this lady, gosh, it's been a year, it was not a referral from Sarah, but she called me up and I'm like, I remember her name, Betty. I'm like, Betty, just your credit. It's like, I understand stuff happens, life happens, but I give her a few things to work on, you know. And then she called me back a month later and she's like, Mr. Mark, you know about that? And finally, I'm like, she's like, what do I need to do to buy a house? And I'm like, Betty, what you need to do is start paying all of your bills on time every month for a year. And it went click and she hung up, right? She didn't like what she wanted me to just kind of massage her along and keep encouraging her. But at some point, this is the rubber meets the road. Not everybody wants to buy a house. It's a big responsibility. These guys talk about the importance of insuring it and maintaining it. It costs a lot of money, right? What's the greatest wealth builder in America? Real estate. And if you don't get on the correct side of appreciation by owning a home, that's okay. But that won't be part of your retirement plan. Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to, I've looked I've been in Texas for about 16 years, and I've seen the home prices go from $200,000 to $400,000. How much effort would you have to put in working to earn that kind of wealth? That's probably working for a while, right, at your job, right? So what a great way to diversify and have things working for you while you're sleeping in your own home. There's another flyer here. Any questions so far? What are the 3 C's of lending? Credit, collateral, capacity. Not everybody uses those. That's my way of just keeping it simple and boiling it down. How am I doing on time? Okay, cool. Because she said I have 2 hours. So this flyer here kind of spells out a lot of important steps for you guys too. Get pre-qualified. You don't have to go with Mark Charles and Supreme Lending. Talk to whomever you want to that's not new in this business. Let that new person figure out how to do loans with somebody else. Hire a professional. Get pre-qualified, which means that we've looked at your tax returns and your W-2s and your pay stubs. We've pulled a soft pull on your credit, which does not affect your credit score. A soft pull doesn't have any impact on your credit score, okay? But it gives us the ability to at least determine what your options are going to be, right? After you're pre-approved, pre-qualified, kind of the same thing, I think. Write an offer on the house. The offer gets accepted, you go into processing, so I always get all the credit for being like the hero in my branch, but the truth is I have an amazing team. My assistant, his name is Godfrey Delgado. My processor, her name is Kendall. She's a rock star. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with somebody who knows how to communicate with you, and they're going to work hard and tell you the truth. Not what you want to hear, they're going to tell you the truth, right? And then we get to closing. So read through this. It talks about things to do and things to not do. One of the things that I have on my email, every email I've ever sent, at the very bottom, nobody reads it, it has 3 things. No job changes, nobody touches your credit, and no new debts. So if you're serious about getting ready to buy a home, live in a bubble for a while. Stay focused on that. Don't go out and open new credit cards. Don't close down credit cards. Continue to save money, but at least talk to a lender that's going to help you understand where you're at. We'll talk about where you want to be, and we'll talk about how to get there. Okay? This last thing, I'm not going to go over it line by line, but this multiple page thing says welcome home. First page talks about credit score. Credit is a reflection of who you borrow money from, how long those accounts have been open, and your history of paying. Now, most of us, myself included, had a time in our life where it's like, I got money for beer, but I don't have money for that payment. You know what I mean? So, am I being too honest? Okay. Here's a page on down payment. If you're going conventional, if you have better credit scores, don't worry about the loan program. There's conventional, there's FHA, there's VA. Any veterans in here? Not today? That's cool, though. But we're going to talk about, ultimately, when you choose your lender you're going to work with, we're going to talk about those different down payment options, including down payment assistance. Power of getting pre-approved. You have to understand, Sarah, how many times do you get a call from somebody that says, I want to go look at this house?
Every day.
Yeah, and then you say, have you talked to a lender? And they go, no, it's show me the house. Why are you looking at houses if you don't even understand how much it's going to take? You're setting yourself up to fail because you don't understand what the down payment requirements are, the prepayments, the closing costs, things like that. You have to have your arms around that. Basically, it's like, in my world, it's, I give you a little bit of information. I give you the link to the application. And then you take your time and do a great job on the application because you're going to tell me who you are, where you live, where you work, what your income is. I'll do a soft pull on your credit. So now I'm going to give you some information saying, okay, this is how much money you're going to need, I think, worst case scenario. This is what I think the interest rate is going to be, and this is what I think your maximum purchase price is going to be. And then we go into, okay, well, here's what the payment's going to be. Do you want to buy a home for $400,000? The payment's about $3,600 a month. I just completely made that up. And my point is, you need to understand, don't you? Guys, you in the red, who's this lady next to you? You guys aren't in a relationship or anything? Let's pretend that you are. Right? So you're going to be on your best behavior on your first date, right? And you're going to be drilling it. Make sure he has a J-O-B. Make sure he's a good guy. He's generous and gentle and kind and opens the door for you and compliments you on your beautiful hair and things like that, right? So my point is, we've got to get in front of this process so we know we're understanding who we're getting involved with. We're getting involved with buying a home. We need to know what the loan's going to look like because it's going to be with you for a long time, just like that house might be, right? Who's going to ahead of myself there? How to pre-approved? Get pre-approved. Options for buying a house. There's more about down payment, the role of your lender. Supreme experience, that's all. Keep this stuff and just read through it. The key, guys, is don't be afraid of this process. Get started. Find out about what your options are for buying a home. I think Sarah and I have had a lot of borrowers, home buyers, that they weren't ready to buy a house yet because they didn't realize that their credit was where it was. They didn't realize they had to do some work on it. And I've seen a lot of credit reports, tens of thousands in my time, so I've kind of seen everything. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, but we've got to deal with it, right? We've got to understand where we're at, we've got to talk about where we want to be, and we've got to talk about how to get there. Any questions for me? Nobody? What are the 3 C's of lending? Good job. All right. So no questions for you guys, all right? Cool. Oh yeah, sorry. You asked about student loans?
Yeah, I'm trying to purchase.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the rules in, remember I talked about printing out all the guidelines and buying a house, how they change constantly. So student loans, anybody have student loans in here? Are they in deferral? Like income-based repayment? If we have 0 payment? But here's the deal with lending today, is if you have student loans, whether you're making a payment or not, every lender is going to have to take a percentage of that balance of your loan as an estimated payment to qualify. So years ago, it's been maybe 10 years ago, yes, student loans in deferral, we just ignored them. But the federal government said, wait a minute, these loans are going to come back and repayment at some point. So we've got to include an estimated payment on the balance of those student loans towards determining your capacity, which is the 3rd C, debt to income ratio. So again, there's a benefit again of choosing a lender that knows what they're doing. They do a soft pull on your credit, and we walk through it, we talk through it. So you can understand, maybe you need a few more months to get some credit, improve your credit scores. Or maybe you need several months of saving money so that you have enough money to cover not only the cost of buying a home, but we want you to have some money left in the bank after closing because what's going to happen? Something could break. We got a lawnmower. Right? Or we're going to hire a gardener to take care of stuff, you know? So, good point about student loans. Anybody got anything?